Ian Garry is the villain the UFC needed, and maybe beating a Brazilian is the cheat code. Colby Covington turned villain after beating Damian Maia. That essentially saved his career. Conor McGregor was already on a run, but beating Jose Aldo, and he was mean towards him, was vicious. But that essentially skyrocketed his career. He became a global superstar. Will the same thing happen with Ian Garry? Well, it's good for the UFC that he's drawing so much attention, but he has to win. It's high stakes now. There is a difference between Ian Garry and the other two villains aforementioned, though. And it's a bit strange. Even when Colby called Brazil a dump, he still had fans supporting him and backing him. He appealed to a certain group. Conor, the same thing as well, too. He was coming after Jose Aldo, but Ireland was behind him. But Ian Garry's story is a bit unique. Seems as though no one really is an Ian Garry fan right now. Sure, he might have a very small few, but it's just different. Coming after Neil Magny, making him seem to be a bad father, was distasteful to the highest degree. Vicente Luque, the same thing. Basically calling himself Jesus was a bit disrespectful. And then the whole thing with his wife. Step by step, he has become the most hated fighter in the UFC. But he has everyone talking about him. Now, this is a two-sided question. If he wins, what does it mean? And if he loses, what does it mean? I was really thinking about this for a while. Colby lost to Kamaru Usman twice. He was still able to get big fights. He's fighting Leon for the title next. So losing didn't end his career. Conor McGregor, he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, and he's still the biggest draw in the UFC. If Ian Garry wins, his stardom grows even more. At this point, monetarily, it might be best for him to continue being the villain. Sure, most of us would not want that lifestyle, being hated, being criticized online, but he made that bet and now he has to sleep in it. But he has separated himself from most UFC fighters. Now he's a draw. Now he's a ticket seller. And as crazy as it sounds, he's one of the few fighters that draws attention. But if he loses, what does it mean? I can't lie. At first I thought, man, maybe his career is over. But the more I think about it, honestly, I think he's gotten to the point that he's so disliked that no matter what he does next, people are gonna be tuning in. I'm not saying that he's gotten to Dylan Dennis level of stardom where people want to see what he does next. Even though people don't take Dylan seriously, they're watching what he does. Ian Garry, on the other hand, we could say he's highly skilled and he could win against a lot of the welterweights in his own division. And people are going to have their eyes on him. People are going to want to see what he does next. Love him or hate him. And most hate him. And that's okay for him. If the goal is to make money, if the goal is to draw attention, he's there right now. He has accomplished that and he could even take it further. If it's about money, he succeeded. And I think he guaranteed himself a few good paydays after this next fight against Vicente. So don't be surprised if the fight is close and they give the fight to Ian Garry. This is a safe space. It's the same thing with Paddy and Jared Gordon. Everyone knows that Paddy really lost that fight, but they gave the nod to Paddy because he's a star. Pedro Munoz and Marlon Vera was close. They gave the nod to Chito Vera, setting up the Sean O'Malley fight. If the fight is close and most feel that Luque won the fight and edged it out, and they somehow give the fight to Ian Garry, people will be mad, but fans will also watch what he does next. Just like with Paddy fighting Tony Ferguson next. Same thing will happen with Ian Garry. With Ian Garry, hate him or love him, he's a necessary villain. And win or lose, he's not going anywhere.